Penang, my new home. Wherever I roam, this place is my own. Penang, my new home.
The storm that we have been predicting has finally arrived. Hello everybody, hello my friends. Welcome to Penang, my new home. The channel about the Penang economy, in particular as it pertains to the real estate market here in Penang. In my previous video, I said that we should be bracing ourselves for the American tariff. And tariff, what does tariff means is the import tax. So this is an import tax that is slapped on products or export from other countries, including Malaysia, to the United States. So yesterday, well, in Malaysia it's yesterday, today is the 3rd of April. So because US is slightly behind Malaysia, so yesterday, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, slapped tariffs on all the countries in the world. At the very least, it's 10% tariff. But here, Malaysia, we got worse than 10%. Let's take a look at some of the news reports that came out. And also, after that, let's discuss what is the impact to Malaysia and particularly to Penang. What is the impact for people who are staying in Penang? What is the impact on our real estate market? And what impact you can expect if you are planning to move to Penang and make Penang your new home. And here we are, the news report from Malaysia on the tariff being, slammed on Malaysia and all other countries. And here we have the American President Donald Trump triumphantly delivering his remarks on the tariff. To him, he calls this Liberation Day. I'm not quite sure what's so liberating about this day to the United States and to the rest of the world, but well, everybody is entitled to his own opinion. And I think that in a tariff war, there is no winners, there is only losers, and it's just to see who gets to lose more. So Malaysia will join its neighbors in being faced with tariffs. We are slapped with a 24% tariff, that is to say import tax on goods entering the United States. Beginning 6 days from now, which is the 9th of April, Vietnam will face a 46% rate, Cambodia 49%, Thailand 37%, Indonesia 32%, and the Philippines 18%. Singapore was spared from higher rate but will remain at the base rate, which is 10%, while China will see a 34% reciprocal tariff. And as I'm looking at this data, I can't help but think, what if we were to export our items via Singapore? As we do quite a lot of goods heading out of Malaysia, does it by way of Singapore? Will we still be hit with a 24% tariff versus a 10% from Singapore? Well, I will probably get the answers very, very soon on this matter. But let's look next at what are the tariffs. So this is the reciprocal tariff. And to be honest, I'm actually quite surprised that we are charging a 47% tariff on goods from the United States. And they are, if you look at here, they are being very generous to us, that they are putting a discounted reciprocal tariff, not 47%, but just 24%. But nevertheless, this 24% and 32% and everything else, this is looking like fortifying a brick wall all around the United States. That means the people of the United States are going to have to pay more for things that they buy. And what is the impact for the people of the United States? Well, they probably will have to think twice before they make another purchase from Temu or Shein. And they will probably have to think twice before they buy an imported car. And a lot of the cars being driven in the United States are indeed imported even when they are American brands, because quite a number of the vehicles are manufactured in Canada or Mexico. At least some of the parts are being produced there. So even a car that is assembled in the United States may see its price rising up due to parts that originate from outside the United States. So definitely the people of the United States are going to look at higher prices for things, and that higher prices means import tax that will go into the coffers of the United States. That's to say, every time somebody in the United States buys something that is sourced from outside the United States, doesn't matter whether it's a car or an avocado, it's going to be some money going into the pockets of the United States government. So I suppose it will make them think twice. And will this impact the rest of the world? Well, definitely it will impact everybody, including us here in Malaysia. Because if people are going to think twice before they buy from us, they're going to buy less from us, isn't it? And that will be the impact on us if people buy less from us. And the next question is, what do we sell to them? So for this, let's look at here, in this page, and I'm going to put all the links in the description of today's video. We see what are Malaysia's export to the United States. So for the year 2024, Malaysia export $43.43 billion of goods and services to the United States. This is according to the United States Comtrade database on international trade. And what are these? So you can see this one at the top of it all would be electrical and electronic equipment. So that is to say, maybe it could be everything from refrigerators to laptop computers to servers and so on, and to semiconductors. So this is 43.68 billion, and this is the one which I'm very concerned about, because Malaysia's Silicon Valley or Silicon Island is right here in Penang, and I am fearful that this will have an adverse negative impact on Penang people, considering so many of us are working in the electrical and electronic industry. And then other sectors include machinery, nuclear reactors, boilers, 6.3 billion. I'm not quite sure whether we have nuclear reactors in Malaysia, but this is just a category. And then following that, there's optical, photo, technical, medical apparatus at 3.89% billion. And then rubber products, furniture, animal, vegetable fats and all. So this could be the palm oil that we export to the United States. It comes in at $600 million. Plastic and so on. So what is the Malaysian government's response to this? So the Malaysian International Trade Industry says that it will engage with US over this tariff hikes on Malaysian export. So this is not something that is singling out Malaysia. It is something that is being applied to everybody. So everybody gets this. The baseline is 10%, but because we export higher and we put a higher tariff on goods imported from the United States, as a result, we are slapped with a 24% tariff or import tax. And who will pay this import tax? Actually, it's not us. It will be the people who are using our stuff, that is to say the Americans over there. But we don't get away scot-free, because if they are going to think twice about importing from us, they are going to buy less from us. As I look at how much attention that has been paid to this matter of tariff, which is something that the American president keeps on harping over day after day, I was curious to find out how much goods and services are produced domestically in the United States versus those that is imported. So rather than relying on hearsay, I go and look for data on this matter, and I'm surprised that, well, what I find is that domestically, the United States still produce the bulk of what it consumes. Yeah, the goods and services that is consumed in the United States is actually much bigger, much more than what it imports. And for that, let's look at some notable sites on this matter. Our first stop is the US Department of Commerce, and this is the report on the purchase in America. Are Americans buying American-made goods? So this is the information as of January 17, 2025. In this report, economists from the Office of the Undersecretary for Economic Affairs provides this data, and what it says is that we find that 52% of the value of gross domestic purchases reflect domestic content in 2023. In other words, about half of what Americans purchased in 2023 was made in America. Gross domestic purchases in the United States was $3.7 trillion in 2023 in nominal terms, meaning $1.9 trillion of that value can be attributed to US industries. These include all final purchases by US consumers, businesses, and government. So what you are seeing is that most of the bulk of what is consumed in the United States is made in the United States, made in America. And in addition, we found that 80% of the gross output generated by US manufacturers in 2022 came from domestic content. So again, what it means is that what is made in America is used by America. What about US exports? Well, I find this information from the Progressive Policy Institute, and it says that US exports for 2023 is $3.1 trillion, and of this, manufacturing accounts for 1.6 trillion of that, followed by services 1.03 trillion, energy 0.32 trillion, and agriculture. So this is what is being exported by the United States. And in this trade war where the US is enacting tariffs, what will many countries do? They are going to retaliate by putting on tariffs also. So when the other countries put on tariffs, this is going to be those who are going to be impacted will be the exporters. So in this report, it says exporters are the cannon fodder of trade wars, the unwitting frontline conscript who lose sales, output, and jobs first when the targets retaliate. What that means is that when America puts on tariff on all the different countries, the countries are going to retaliate by putting or increasing the tariff back on America. And once again, when tariff is implemented, how do the exporters lose? Because importers or the importing country are going to think twice before they import. Why should I import from America when I can import from some other country at a lower price? So unless it's something that is so unique to America and is essential for a quality life, we are going elsewhere to find it. But in the case of America, they are putting tariff on all countries. So if it's put on all countries, there's no such thing as country A move to country B. For the American exporter, there is no escape. Whichever country it is, they are going to have to pay the tariff to bring the goods in, and the tariff or the increase in cost will then be delivered to the American public, to the consumers, to the buyers, because they are the end consumer. They will have to pay the tariff. Here we look at the total value of international imports of goods and services in the United States from the year 2000 to the year 2023. And you can see that over the years, US import has continued to increase and increase and increase, even though in some years, such as here 2020, the COVID year, it dropped. Maybe it's due to the pandemic, so it dropped to $2.81 trillion, and then it rose again, and then it rose again, and then for 2023, it says that it seems to drop a little bit to $3.83 trillion. So from this about over 20-year span, it has increased almost double, over double, from 1.45 trillion to 3.83 trillion. And over here, we see what is the import of goods and services to the United States from 1990 to 2022 as a percentage of gross domestic product. That is to say, how much is imported and how much is produced domestically. And if you follow this graph, you will see that the amount that is being imported has increased year by year, even though over here in 2009 there seems to be a sharp drop. Maybe that it was also the year of the economic crisis, so there was a sharp drop, but then it rebounded to 17.28, and since then it has dropped somewhat to the year 2020, which again is the COVID year, but since then it has risen and it's risen again, meaning that if it rises, it means that the American consumers are importing more than they are producing locally. And what are they importing? Let's look at just Malaysia. So this is the export and imports between the United States and Malaysia. So the United States exports to Malaysia an amount of 18.9 billion. The top product that the United States is exporting is integrated circuits, so electronical parts. And the export from Malaysia to the United States accounts for 44.9 billion. So if you are looking at it this way, for sure there is a deficit for the United States. That is to say, we are exporting more than we are importing. But that is because we have a much smaller market and we are exporting things which are also integrated circuits. So as you can see, we are part of a supply chain. So things are not produced all within a single country, perhaps except for China, but in most other countries we are part of a supply chain and integrated circuits are being exported from the United States, and that is re-exported from Malaysia to the United States. So this is how it is with the global economy, where everything is moving all over. But now with this tariff that was announced on the 2nd of April, there is going to be for sure repercussion all across the world, and well, I suppose only time will tell what is going to happen. But here we can discuss what is going to impact us over in Malaysia and in Penang. And finally, let's discuss what is the impact of this trade war or tariff war between the United States and the rest of the world. As you can see, I would say that the American consumers, the American people have nowhere to escape because the tariff is placed on all countries. So there's a baseline tariff of at least, the very least is 10%. Even on Antarctica, where nobody is saying that there's a 10% tariff on Antarctica, which is, I'm not how to say, ridiculous. But nevertheless, there is a baseline tariff on all countries, but other countries get it worse. Malaysia gets it at 24%. So what does that mean to us? For the American consumers, they can't escape. Maybe those of you who are retiring may want to escape to Malaysia. The cost of living in Malaysia will be low, much lower than in America, and with the tourists coming in, it's going to be even your US dollars is going to stretch even further. But having said that, prices in Malaysia is going to go up too. The tariff is going to impact us here in Malaysia. However, we have other ways to escape. If we are not able to export to America, we can still export to China, to the European Union, to so many other countries. Similarly, if China or South Korea or Japan have difficulty in exporting to America, they can still export to Europe, to Australia, to many other countries. But we all have to acknowledge that the United States of America is a huge market. So if we lose that particular market, it will impact the whole world. Having said that, those of you who have the opportunity to move away from America and you are retiring, yes, Penang would still be a wonderful option for you. And that's the whole reason for this YouTube channel. Penang, my new home, is a place for you to consider making it your retirement home if you are not an expatriate. And in this case, we are also not sure what will be the impact on expatriates here in Penang. Will it impact our electronic and electrical industry to the extent that some of them may have to pack up and move back to the United States? They may, but it might not be immediately. Until that happens, I know for all industries, we have to think long term. And this American president may only last for the next 4 years unless he is able to perform a miracle and stay on for a third term. But that would be against the United States Constitution or amendments that every person can only serve for 2 terms. And after these 2 terms, what is going to happen? Will this tariff still be there? It's hard to tell. And will this tariff suffocate the American public? We'll see in the next coming months. But until then, if you have been thinking of moving to Penang to make it your new home, perhaps this is where you can consider. But of course, think thoroughly and investigate, do your homework on Penang. Check out on all the videos in this channel where I show you what you can expect in different places in Penang. And if it happens that you need to apply for an MM2H visa, yeah, you can also get in touch with me. We have lined up agencies for MM2H that can assist you in getting your MM2H visa. And then if you need to get property in Penang to stay, or but if you are on MM2H, you have to purchase. Okay, to purchase a property in Penang, yeah, our team of real estate agent will be there to assist you. But once again, this is not selling. I'm not creating this channel to sell you any services, but just to provide you the option. Ours is not the only option. There are others out there. But if you find that this is something reliable for you and you are confident to engage in the services of our MM2H agency as well as real estate agent, you can get in touch with me. My number is below. WhatsApp, never call. Okay, I might not be in a situation where I can answer calls, but please WhatsApp me. So that concludes today's video on the American tariff to Malaysia and how it impacts Penang. For Penang, we are fearful of our industries, which are the electronic industry. But let's see what happens. And until we meet again in our next video, thanks for watching and I'll see you again soon.
Penang, my new home, wherever I roam, this place is my own.